Well, good evening, everybody. We'd like to welcome you tonight to our August the 6th Hendersonville Regional Planning Commission meeting. And we'd like to make a note that it looks like we got a full house tonight. Everybody is present. And with that, we're going to stand up and have a word of prayer. Going to ask our planning director, Director Free, to pray for us tonight.
Thank you, Chairman. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for this day, great day, and just thank you for this great community, and just we just appreciate being a part of it. God, I ask you just to be with the members of the Planning Commission tonight as they deliberate and make decisions. Just give them wisdom. God, just thank you so much for them and bless them, their families. Be with the participants tonight that are here to participate in this meeting. Just bless them and their endeavors. And just continue to bless our great community. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. All right. We have one public hearing tonight. It's a request by FS Hendersonville LLC to rezone 1.04 acres from rural residential to general commercial. This property is located on the east side of Calendar Lane on the north of East Main Street, as identified on Sumner County Tax Map 159 CD 006.01. There are no persons signed up for that hearing, so we will declare that hearing closed. Is there any request for information and assistance? Chairman, Commissioner Lee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. An item that I wanted to bring up and a recommendation for us to consider tonight, and I think a copy of this recommendation has been distributed to all of the other Planning Commission members. We've been faced from time to time with developers and others coming before us to rezone property because the use of that property as currently zoned was not able to be sold as developed as it was originally zoned. And I know at a couple of meetings ago, I raised a concern, and I think some of the other commissioners did as well, that we have left in the city only a few large tracts of land that could house a large corporate complex that could bring jobs to our community as well as development to our community. So I ask the Commission to consider a recommendation that would call upon our Planning Director to meet with our Director of Economic and Community Development, Mr. Rod Kirk, also to inform and work with our Mayor and our Board of Aldermen, our Industrial Board, and to begin a process of trying to identify those large tracts of land within our city that are left to help to determine which would be ideal for a larger corporate development that would bring jobs to our community, and to work towards a consensus among both BOMA and the Commission and all interested parties, as well as invite developers that might have an interest in forming a public-private partnership to come forward as well, to really do some very hard-looking and some strategic study and planning as to project or projects that could benefit our city in a unique kind of way.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Lee. I have looked at this recommendation, and I think that it's well within the wheelhouse of our Planning Commission to begin to look at some of these issues and to call upon, as you state in your recommendation, for our Planning Director and our Economic Director to begin to form a framework of how this would come about. I do think there are some organizational and logistical things that need to be worked out with it, but I would just like to, as chairman, I'd like to test the Commission's will on this one. I think just in the form of a friendly motion, not as an instruction, but as a recommendation to our Planning Director that we begin the process at least with a meeting with Roddy Kirk and others, and to come back to us. I know that we're going to be having a work session, but maybe not have the final thing, but to begin to work towards that discussion. So I would entertain that if somebody, who wants to make that motion? You want to go ahead and make the motion? And you're going to make the second? Any discussion? Once again, this is just a friendly motion just to recommend that the planning director begin to do this.
For us to be proactive.
Be proactive, yes. Okay. We got a motion and a second on that. Any discussion?
Yes.
Barry?
The chamber board has already had some of those conversations with the mayor and with Rod Kirk, and I would recommend that the chamber be involved in those discussions as well.
I like that recommendation as well, and I think that all of these things need to come to bear on this discussion if we are going to be proactive in this. This is good planning for us to do that. Okay, we have a motion and a second with that recommendation. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's carried. All right, there are any additions to the agenda? Okay. We have the minutes from July the 2nd. Do we have a motion? Vanessa makes the motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Altizer. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any abstentions? Okay. Ms. Stringfellow? Okay, very good. All right, we have the preliminary and final development plans, Durham Farms, portions of phases 1 and 2, commercial lots FDP, location on the east side of Drakes Creek Road, north and south sides of Azalea Circle. They're agreeing to all staff comments. Who's handling this one, Director?
Timothy Witten, our Assistant Planning Director.
Okay. Timothy?
This is the final development plan for the 2 commercial lots that are in Durham Farms. These 2 lots are located just east of the roundabout that's kind of there in the center of the development. The lots were intended to serve as kind of low-key neighborhood commercial and retail to serve the residents of Durham Farms. Durham is requesting to add 3 uses to the existing uses on the plan. Those are special personal and group care facilities limited to child care center, religious facilities, and educational facilities. So they would like to add those to the list of allowed uses. Other than those additional uses, the final development plan is in substantial compliance with the preliminary development plan. They have agreed with all staff comments, but there is a revision to planning staff comment number 3, or rather an addition. They've agreed to remove that note as called for in number 3, but staff has worked with them to add a second note as follows. Building footprint square footage may be reduced in size from what is shown on the plans. Details to be worked out at the site plan stage. That's planning staff comment number 3. And then there's a
Okay, they've agreed to all staff comments. Any of the proposed uses, that's not going to constitute any kind of major change to anything?
no. Those uses are allowed within the base zone.
Okay, very good. All right, are there, they're agreeing to all staff comments. Any questions from the commission? All right, do we have a motion to accept this?
I move that we approve.
We approve with all staff comments. Any second? Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Woodcock, any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to the next, go to site plans. We have Millstone, Phase 10 and 11, Section 2, Villas, site plan. Location is east side of Saundersville Road, north of Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. They're agreeing with all staff comments. Who's handling this one, Mr. Free?
This is Grant Green, our Senior Planner.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, sir. This is a site plan that's submitted by Goodall Home. Thank you. This is a site plan submitted by Goodall Homes. for Millstone Phases 10 and 11, Section 2. Phase 10 consists of 20 villa units, and Phase 11, Section 2 consists of 17 villas. Phase 10 has approximately 56,000 square feet of open space, and Phase 11 has approximately 50,000 square feet of open space, and this is all consistent with the approved FDP. The elevations in the packet are shown English Manor and French Country Villas, which are primarily brick facades. They've agreed to more screening and landscaping on the end cap units, which are more visible on the street. So we've worked with them on that, and they've agreed to that comment, and everything seems to be in order.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Ms.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Stringfield seconds. Ms. McCormick makes the motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Related projects, we have Hazel Path, the FDP ad use. Mr. Free, Timothy? Go ahead.
The owners of Hazel Path Mansion are requesting to add the use of an event center to the final development plan for Hazel Path. The Hazel Path plan development includes Hazel Path Mansion, the building there, plus about 12 other office buildings that surround it. They're requesting to add a use of event center. The existing uses within that plan development include offices and institutional. The event center will be a 4,000 square foot facility for weddings and receptions and similar type events on the weekends and at hours that are offset from the office that's within that mansion. Parking requirements are being met by way of a parking lease agreement for the adjacent office park to the west of the mansion, which will provide adequate parking for a term of 10 years with an option to renew. The parking lease will be for weekends only when the office is closed. The exterior of the event building will be 100% hardy board, which will echo and match what's on the rear of the historic Hazel Path Mansion, so it will match and tie in with that. There is a comment that we need to add to the planning staff comments, and that is, if this is approved, that approval is subject to adding the correct owner to the parking lease agreement, and with final approval of planning and the city attorney. And they have agreed to all staff comments.
Okay, one more time, the addition to the staff comments, say that one more time, that would need to be.
So that would read, approval is subject to adding the correct owner to the parking lease agreement and to final approval of planning department and the city attorney.
Okay. And the waiver?
Well, the waiver, it's not technically a waiver, but it is, the building has 100% hardy.
Right.
Typically, we would ask for more mason or brick or stone on that building. However, this does sit way back off of the road, and it does tie in architecturally with the Hazel Path Mansion itself.
Okay. Okay, you'll recall that this was a carryover from last time. This is actually an add-on use, and I think our big concern last time, if I remember correctly, was the concern about the parking lease. It appears that they've got all these issues worked out. I understand that the city attorney and the applicants have met, and that everything seems to be in order. And Mr. Free.
Yeah, I might just speak to that. I remember at our last meeting, we had, staff had a lot of concern about the parking agreement, that it wasn't quite meeting what we felt the minimum requirements should be for such a parking agreement. But in the meantime, and over this last month, the owner of the property has secured a potential agreement that will meet that minimum requirement. One thing I would want to just note for the record, that this agreement is for 10 years, can be extended to 15, can't be canceled unless there's cause to be canceled. But one thing that's very important is just to note that if all this gets approved and it gets built, and then we eventually do a use and occupancy permit that would allow the building to be used, the planning staff's going to make sure that we put on there all the stipulations regarding this parking, that if any such time in the future that this parking this agreement, it goes null and void or is no longer in effect, then there will be no allowable use of that building, because it can't, unless new parking was created or some other type of agreement. One other thing I might just mention, just so that we have it in the record, is that the owner of the property also has a separate agreement that you don't have before you, because it doesn't really count toward the parking, but kind of an overflow agreement over by the Methodist Church in front of Pets Plus, kind of in that shopping center behind the car wash, on being able to have some parking there as well for overflow. But just to note that if this deal that you have in front of you, the agreement, if it fell through, that couldn't be used to meet the parking requirements. I think it's good to have that for overflow, but it just wouldn't meet that. But I just wanted to share that just for the record, so that we have that in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any, Ms. Silkwood?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I fully support this. I think this is definitely needed in Sumner County. There are very few large event centers, so I think this is necessary. But one of my concerns that I brought up last time that I haven't heard addressed yet was the noise issue. Can someone walk us through how that would be controlled? Because it does back up to a residential subdivision.
Okay, are the applicants here? I think they are. Marty, you want to come up and talk to this, or whoever? Yeah. Can you please introduce yourself? And
Sure. I'm Marty Cook. I'm the attorney for the applicant. This is Wayne Holloway, who's the owner. We spoke about that after the meeting last time, and we did some research. It was our understanding in Nashville that they require event centers like this to shut things down at 11 o'clock. And so we would certainly be agreeable to a condition such as that on weekend nights, these events, that noise would be cut off at 11 o'clock, if that's something that the commission would want to add as a condition.
Ms. Silkwood, anything else?
No, thank you. I personally would support something like that. I'm sure the residents of the Hazel Path subdivision that backs right up to your new pavilion would appreciate that as well.
Sure.
What we'll do with if you want to, when it comes time for the motion, we'll add that as a condition. Does that sound good? Okay. Mr. Woodcock.
Thank you. First, I want to thank staff. I was one who raised a lot of concerns about the parking. I feel the staff went above and beyond to address those concerns with the owner. I'm prepared to support it. I'm excited that it's going to be here. One quick thing about the noise. You said Nashville. I want to make sure that it doesn't go above anything that Hendersonville has in their code, our code. I tried to pull it up, but the Wi-Fi, I can't pull it up. I did last time, and it was very cut and dry.
All right. Does anybody
says.
on staff have a good rendering of what that ordinance looks like for sound?
No, I don't think we can. But I think we could put it that it would, I
Match
think if
the
the
ordinance.
condition would match the ordinance,
Yeah.
so.
Exactly.
The 11 sounds about right, but if it's a little bit earlier, then it would have to be to that, to meet that guideline.
It seems like in the past, we have put a 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock restriction on this before. I think the 11 o'clock, unless there's an ordinance that requires us to have it less, the 11 o'clock hour sounds very reasonable.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Mr. Woodcock. He had the floor. Anything else, Mr. Woodcock?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Longmire?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that 4 years ago, I had a wedding at my house in the yard in the middle of the summer. And I called the city and talked to, I don't remember who I talked to now, but they told me that because I live in Bluegrass, which is a residential area, of course, and they said that all the music and that sort of thing had to be completed by 11 o'clock. So I'm assuming that there is something on the book somewhere.
We'll just stipulate that it has to be in compliance with the city ordinance on that, whatever that time is. If it's 11, that's fantastic. Okay. Anything else? Okay, from a parliamentary procedure,
I have one quick.
okay,
In the comments, it says it's a 5-year lease with options.
That's all,
Yeah.
Yeah, those comments are from the previous, just,
it's going to be 10.
yeah.
So it's a 10-year firm lease then.
And then
Yes.
with renewable to 15.
Yes.
And it was said that it'll only be on weekends, so you guys are not going to have anything in there during the week?
Not under the current lease agreement, no.
But so you're building a building that you can only use Friday night from 5 o'clock till Sunday at 11 o'clock?
It's my understanding people don't get married unless it is the weekend. That's the target audience we're shooting for. I'm willing to take that into consideration that we're gonna lose out on a Tuesday night wedding just to have the deal.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hardwick. From a parliamentary perspective here on this add-on and the site plan, do we need to consider those separately, or can we group those?
I think we could group those as related items. Yeah.
We are safe to do that. If some commissioner would like to make that motion that we move to group these two, the add-on use and the site plan? So moved by whom over here? By Mr. Woodcock, second by Commissioner Lee. Okay, they agreed to all staff comments. We need a motion that we would approve this with the added caveat of the sound ordinance, and then there was one more that Timothy mentioned, I believe. The waiver for the Hardy Board. Okay,
And the name of the
And
person.
adding the
on the
correct
agreement.
owners to the agreement.
Yeah.
So that's the motion we need. Anybody want to make that motion? Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. We have made, I think there was a motion to move to group, and I think there was seconded. So all in favor say aye. Okay, any opposed? So ordered. And we have one abstention, okay? Ms. McCormick. Okay, so now it's before you. They're grouped. We've got it on the floor. They've agreed to all staff comments. Now we just need a motion to approve with, so moved, Mr. Lee. Any a second on that? Second by Mr. Altizer. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? So, and one abstention. It's carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. It's me. Is this going to be considered a minor amendment? Yes. Okay, wonderful.
Yes, it'll be considered minor. If it was major, we'd have to take it to Boma. Okay, so now we're going to consider a rezone. This was part of the public hearing. East Main Street, Chenault Firestone rezone. There was nobody signed up for the hearing. Mr. Free, who's going to be handling this one?
This is going to be Senior Planner Grant Green.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a rezoning request for a 1.04 acre parcel located at the northeast corner of Main Street and Calendar Lane. This is a rezoning request from rural residential to general commercial. This is actually next door to Lowe's in Fifth Third, which is zoned GC, the track adjacent to this. Across the road, there's general commercial as well. This is actually a part of the Chenault Farm, which is all zoned rural residential, kind of an island there. The use intended by the applicant is for a Firestone Tire Service Center, and the Planning Commission should take into account the findings of fact from the Hendersonville zoning ordinance when looking at this. I'll go ahead and read through that really fast if that's okay. The first thing, the zone change amendment is in agreement with the land use plan for the area, and the land use plan is suburban center, or the land use assignment is suburban center, which this would fall within that land use character area. There will be no adverse effect upon adjoining property owners unless such effect can be justified by the overwhelming public good or welfare. No property owner or small group of or property owners will benefit materially from the change to the detriment of the general public, and conditions affecting the area have changed to a sufficient extent to warrant an amendment to the area's land use map plan and subsequently the zoning map. So the zoning does fall within that, rezoning from RR to GC does fall within the same character area. And we do have some adjacent GC, and it's right there kind of at the corner of that RR tract that goes back to the railroad from East Main.
Okay. Would make note that the applicant has agreed with all staff comments. However, are there any questions from any commissioners to either Mr. Woodcock?
I have a question for planning. As the board or commission may remember, we passed a residential development close to this, and it involves Colander Lane. So can we just make sure if any improvements are made to Colander Lane, that it kind of is coordinated with this development so that we're not doubling up or messing anything up with construction vehicles?
And I might just mention that. So what'll happen is that first part of Colander Lane is to be improved if this Anderson Park development is approved, and there is some overlap. But basically what's going to happen is whoever goes first is who's going to have to do the majority of those improvements, so along Firestone. So what'll happen is even if Anderson Park gets approved, if Firestone gets approved and moves quicker, then they're going to have to do that curb and gutter and all that, sidewalk and everything through there. If Anderson Park gets ahead of it, then they'll do that. So, but more than likely, what probably would happen with this particular project is the Firestone would probably move quicker than the Anderson Park, because the Anderson Park, that would happen in phase 3 of Anderson Park, which could be a couple of years after it starts. So the improvements along Colander Lane and right there along where this Firestone property would be, they would be responsible for that. And then we still have the issue later to decide next week with the Anderson Park about the Colander Lane, whether that's open or not. So that's still a discussion, but it's open in everything you can see, through here today.
I still want us to improve it or
Yes.
over in the construction vehicles with Firestone.
Yes. No, I totally agree.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Woodcock, Alderman Woodcock. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, do we happen to know, will this, we currently have one Firestone center on Indian Lake. Is this a second Firestone, or do we know, is this a second Firestone center, or are they moving and have a vacant building on?
I think
Indian
we
Lake?
have somebody here that can answer that. If you would identify
Okay.
yourself
Yeah.
and
Lee Horn with Reagan Smith. We're the civil engineer on this project. I also have Craig Cole with the developer on this project here with me tonight. This proposed facility will not replace that existing one. The existing one is it's a licensed franchise, and this would be a corporate tire center. And that existing facility is taken into account in that marketing plan and that calculated need for tire stores.
okay. Does that answer all your questions, Mr. Lee? Ms. McCormick?
In light of everything we've heard, I move that we approve the zoning request as presented.
Ms. Longwood's got a question.
Okay, we can deal with it in discussion. All right. I move that we approve the zoning request with all staff comments. I find in terms of the finding of facts that the zone change amendment is in agreement with the land use plan for the area, considering it is located in the suburban center, which does allow for the consideration of a commercial rezone to replace the rural residential designation. I find that there are no adverse effects to adjoining properties, considering the property owner is to the north and the east of that property, and the west and south of that property is already zoned GC. I find that the good can be justified by the overall public and welfare versus and there will be no adverse effect there. I find that no property owner or small group of property owners will benefit to the detriment of the general public, as this will be a place that is open to the general public, that the conditions affecting the area have changed to a sufficient extent to warrant an amendment to the area's land use plan, and subsequently the zoning map, considering the adjacent properties are already zoned in that manner.
It's a proper motion for a rezone. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Stringfellow. Ms. Longmire, do you have a question?
Yes, I can't find it now, but am I remembering correctly that in this plan, this area is 1.04 acres, and that's less than what is supposed to be for, is that right?
Yeah,
Ma'am,
Mr.
yes, the actual tract is 1.04 acres based on what we've been given and what we've looked at, but it is less than what you can be required for a planned development. Commercial plan development minimum is 3 acres, if that's what you were.
I was wanting to know, what the requirement was and how much off this was.
oh, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not for a planned
Yeah,
development.
No, it's not. I don't think there's any.
Yeah,
I mean,
it meets the size, especially with the adjacency of other commercial property. Having an acre is fine. What Mr. Green was talking about is that typically we have like planned developments that are submitted, but this couldn't submit a planned development because it's not more than 3 acres. And so I think that's what you were referring to. But it's, the size of it is appropriate to meet the requirements. And then they'll still have to submit a site plan, then depending on the building they're putting on and the parking and everything, all of that has to fit on there. So it has to meet all the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And that will drive the overall size of the building. I think they already have looked at that and got a pretty good idea of what they can fit on the property at this point. But the size of the property is appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Free. I see no other commissioners' lights here on the board, so we got a proper motion and a second. This would be the recommendation to BOMA, which would be the next step. So do we'll take a vote here. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's carried, so ordered. Thank you. All right, staff reviewed projects. We have the ETV exterior renovations for Stakers, gated hardscape entry feature. We have Indian Lake Village Phase Section A. We retreat at Indian Lake Landscape Plan Revision, Saundersville Industrial Park, Section 8, lots 40 and 41 consolidation. Then we also have staff review projects that are pending. Durham Phase 2, Section 24, Indian Lake Market Phase 1, resub lots C through R. Michael Archibald property, lots 2 and 6, and Restoring Hope Church Modular Addition site plan. Moving down to other, we have Resolution 2019-4 Autumn Creek Phase 7. Mr. Free, you want to go over that real quick, what that resolution is?
What that is, hold on just a second. I think that's just a second.
It's acceptance of the dedication.
Yeah, that's it.
Streets in Autumn Creek Phase 7. I was just going to let you know.
Yeah, that's the acceptance of the back part of Autumn Creek subdivision, and they have made all of the repairs that Public Works has required. This has been to the Public Works, the BOMA Subcommittee on Public Works, and they have approved it, and now it's moving forward to us.
Okay, very good.
The next step would be moving it, recommending it for approval to BOMA.
Okay, do we have a motion? Mr. Lee, second by Ms. McCormick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next resolution is 2019-05, a resolution recommending acceptance of the dedication of the completed streets in Hunt Club, phases 6 and 7, Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee. Mr. Free, have they met all?
They've met all the requirements, and it's also been through that process where it's been to the Public Works Committee of BOMA, and now it's ready for acceptance to move it forward to the full BOMA for acceptance.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve.
Ms. McCormick approves, second by Mr. Altizer. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. All right, Planning Director comments.
Yeah. I might explain there on the street acceptance. It's a little different looking over the past. It was kind of done in the past on the street acceptance where sometimes it would come to the Planning Commission, then it would end up going to the BOMA Public Works Committee, and then go to BOMA. But other times it worked like it is now, where it goes to the BOMA Public Works Committee and then comes to Planning Commission, then back to BOMA. So this is the process we'll use moving forward to make sure that we're getting everything properly accepted and within a timely manner. One thing I do want to share, just have one thing, and we'll get something out tomorrow on it, but we are looking to have a work session on proposed changes to the zoning ordinance on August the 20th, and that's I think the third Tuesday, and we'll do that at 6:30. We'll probably more than likely it'll be maybe 2 to 3 hour work session. What we're looking to do is the planning staff has been working over the last year on changing our zoning ordinance. There's some, mostly it's simple changes. We're changing the format of our zoning ordinance where that it's easier to use and to understand, as well as addressing several different things that we have found that are errors or confusion or problems, and a couple of different new initiatives. And what we're looking to do is, when we have that work session, we'll do it in here, and we'll also invite any BOMA members that want to attend as well. But we'll have that work session with the Planning Commission and the planning staff, and I'll have an executive summary that probably will get out electronically the Friday before the meeting, but I really won't be getting you the books on what the proposed changes are. What we'll do in that first work session, and more than likely, we're going to have a couple of work sessions on this, but in that first work session, I want to work through the executive summary of all the changes, and we'll all follow through the books, and then on all the medium to larger changes, not the small stuff that's capitalization or naming something different, but we'll go through all those major things, and then that way we can get input from the Planning Commission, make any changes and tweaks, and then get back into a work session probably in about a month after that. Our goal is by the end of this year is to have everything, all the changes approved and completed through BOMA so that we can start January the 1st under a new zoning ordinance. And these changes and things that we're looking at, there's some things that are significant changes, but nothing radically significant. It's still everything within the spirit of what the existing ordinance is, but it kind of ties everything together. One thing that we've painstakingly done is we've went through the zoning ordinance and really questioned everything, where that if something isn't making sense and it's not making sense to the whole staff, then we figured out the reason it wasn't and fixed it. Or in some cases, if it was in there and it was just didn't make any sense, then we're removing that because all it's doing is confusing things on interpretation and things like that. So, but we'll go through that whole process, and our hope is as we go through the work session, everyone will have a good, clear understanding of that. Once we go through that first work session, we'll discuss it at the end and see in the next work session how you all would want to do it, where that if you would want at the second work session the changes in the books in advance, or maybe a week or so in advance with an executive summary, so you can kind of work on your own, so that when we get to the work session, you're a little bit more prepared, for that one after we make those initial changes. So
just to confirm, that's at 6:30?
it's 6:30.
Okay.
And we'll have, I don't think we're doing like a full dinner or anything, but we'll have some stuff to eat here as well. So, and I think we'll do it in a manner that it'll be very productive, so that we get right into it. But there are going to be a couple of things. We're going to be talking about some planning principles and some vision about our city. One of the ways as we look at our zoning ordinance, the tweaks and different things and what we may do to it, it is a way to express what our vision is about our city. So there's different things that maybe we're doing now that we might not want to do, or things that we're not doing that we may want to get into, that will they will have an end result to different things. Some of those things, just like what Dr. Lee was talking about earlier with some of the things about office. Some of these things in the zoning ordinance relate to some of that, and looking at how those processes work. But through this process, one of the things that I can definitely say for sure, and the staff could say as well, is the entire planning staff has been working on this, and there is a level of understanding of how our zoning ordinance works, and a depth of understanding of interpretation of it that probably few planning offices have. This has really given us an opportunity to do this in a way where it's deepened our understanding of the entire staff. Originally, a year ago, we were looking at spending $25,000, $35,000 to get maybe outside help to do this, but as a staff, we determined we wanted to do it. We felt like doing it ourselves would give us ownership of it. Plus, we're the ones that are going to have to interpret it and deal with it on a daily basis, and it really would give us an opportunity to have a deeper understanding. So it's been actually a very good process. The whole thing is going to look completely different. We're totally reformatting, even though the bulk of everything is staying the same technically. We're totally reformatting it where it looks a lot better, and it's going to be a whole lot easier. And we're using notes and things like that within the document to explain interpretation of how you interpret some of these different things. So we're really excited to share that with the Planning Commission, and look forward in doing that. After we get that done, our goal next year is to then do the similar thing to the subdivision regulations, and then get that so that it complements that really well. Once we get that done, then the goal is to relook at our future land use plan, transportation plan, maybe even look at a comprehensive plan for our community, and build on our new zoning ordinance and our new subdivision regulations to do those things so that we're well suited for the future.
All right, do you want to give us an Anderson Park update, or?
Yes. Anderson Park, there'll be next Tuesday night at BOMA at 7:30. There'll be a public hearing and a second reading at BOMA. About a month ago, at first reading, the Anderson Park project proposal passed BOMA, and so this will be the second reading, and then in a public hearing. So more than likely, a determination one way or the other will be made at next week's meeting. One thing that did change from the Planning Commission, the builder was going to provide the $3,500 per unit for off-site cost, and I believe they were going to have $1,000 up front after the approval. I think that changed at BOMA, where now they're providing $1,500 per unit up front once it's approved. So that's and one other thing that did change is they reduced it by, I think, maybe just a couple of units. They reconfigured the development a little bit and added just a little bit more green space. One thing that did come up in the last meeting at BOMA that's still to be resolved at the next meeting is whether Collender Lane would be opened up. So that'll be discussed and determined next week. We've looked at Collard Lane and the condition, and at this point, from the last BOMA meeting, BOMA is considering just having Parish Place tie into Collender Lane, have a two-way stop, and just not necessarily improve Collender Lane all the way down through there, but just open it up to traffic. So, but that's yet to be determined, but will be at next week's meeting. And what we'll try to do from now on is anything that is moving forward to BOMA at this point in the Planning Commission meeting, I'll share with you all and give you an update of here's where it is in the process so that you're aware of where that's at.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Millsaps.
Mr. Chairman, having accomplished the agenda set for this evening's meeting, I move that we stand in adjournment until the call of the chair.
Thank you. Proper motion. Any second?
Second.
Mr. McCormick seconds. All in favor say aye. We're adjourned.